So we have another question. Who are some of the up and coming artists you're watching? So who are you seeing coming up? Anybody want to start? Tommy, go ahead.
If you're watching an artist as an artist, to you, they're not up and coming because it's your own job to judge the quality level of these different things. So it's really hard to say who I will see as up and coming, because to me, like, if their stuff's interesting, it's just interesting. I can think of people that have like 40 Instagram followers that I'm like, oh, this is awesome, follow, follow, follow. And then I can think of people who have 1.5 million that I'm like, it's kind of tired, you know? So it would be really, I mean, and it's not, you know, like you guys were talking about earlier between you, Sarah, and Yuko, that we can't be looking at too much and wanting to be those people. So I don't, this is just a long form way of being like, there's a bunch, but I don't know.
I'll throw out a couple of names. So I think like Tommy's saying, I mean, to call these guys up and coming is a little bit, it's kind of all relative, right? I mean, so Gary Viadial is a guy who has like 250,000. I'm not just saying that in a, you know, a roundabout arbitrary way. He literally has 250,000 Instagram followers. And I don't think anybody's heard of him sort of in the community that runs through WorldCon, so to speak. We brought him as part of the Mexicanics Initiative a couple of years ago when I founded that, and brought a bunch of us to WorldCon. Sarah was a part of it. And Gary was someone no one had heard of. And I'll just tell you really quickly, I told Gary, I said, the only instruction I have for you is when you show up at the con, the first thing you do when you have your portfolio and you bring it up is you bring it to my table. I said, why? Because I want to buy a couple of pieces before anybody else sees the stuff. And I made him I held him to it. What was beautiful is that he came up and I was just in the middle of buying my 2 pieces. And then Irene Gallo walks up and I was like, Irene, and Greg Manchus was with her. I said, hey, can you guys just stop for a second and come look at this guy's stuff? And I'm sure Irene gets stopped all the time. And you saw that look on her face. She's like, oh, don't do this to me. But like, I think she got to the 3rd page of his portfolio and she said, can I have your card? And you could just tell she just melted and fell in love. And Greg was just drooling. And it was beautiful to see this guy just, boom, connect. And you knew he would. His draftsmanship is amazing. The second one is Robbie Trevino, also a guy who was brought in through the Mexicanics Initiative. Both these guys, as we've been saying throughout this panel, just have an amazing personal voice. They're also amazing visual storytellers. Gary, when you read his Instagram post, has just a beautiful writing style, very lyrical. He's a born writer. And Robbie's got it in him too. So I look at both those guys as real inspirations, as not just illustrators, but guys who are creating their own IPs, their own story IPs as visual artists. And that's a pocket that I'm very interested in right now.
Galen?
There's 2 people who I wanted to mention, and they're both, like the first one, her name is Sam Gay, and she's someone who I met through an artist workshop that I met her a few times. She does the most incredible watercolor paintings, and I actually support her on Patreon right now just because I want to continue to get her her updates as she's doing what she's doing right now. And she's in the speculative fiction community, but doing a lot of just her own personal art. And then the other artist who I just, Kathleen Jennings, does these, because what she's doing is so different. She does paper cutouts. Like, she creates these intricate, teeny little microscopic paper cutouts. And also she's a writer too. So she's just this incredible, broad spectrum creative brain that I happen to just love. So Kathleen Jennings, both as an illustrator in her own right, and then also as a storyteller in her own right. Those are 2 names that just came to my mind just off the top of my head. And they're also both working in very unique artistic ways that resonate with me. Okay. I don't know, they're not up and coming. Like, they're working as artists. It's hard for me to like figure out if that's the appropriate label for them, but they're artists who they're on the top of my mind right now.
I think Kathleen was nominated for a Locust this year in the final. So yeah, I heard she has some really great stuff as well.
Yes.
Alyssa, did you?
Yeah, like everyone else, I have no idea how to gauge where people are in their careers just by looking at their artwork, but I won't name any names because I'm actually terrible at remembering people's names, and I'll definitely get it wrong, but I did notice that Society of Illustrators had put up their student competition show recently, sometime last week, and I was looking through it, and I'm just always blown away by where students at and the kind of things that they're going through. And it's just so fun to go through that whole gallery because everything's so different, you know, like so many different hands and thoughts and brains go into that stuff. So I really enjoyed looking through that, and I'd highly recommend it if anybody has time. And it's online, so very easy to get to.
And
So can I mention? So I, like who's up and coming depends on your own personal experience, right? So like I've been doing this for 17 years. Like on the longer side, probably John and I are on the longer side. John might be longer, but like anyway. So like anyone who started after us is like up and coming, and I hope she won't be offended because I'm gonna say something really good about her, but like Robina Kai was my assistant when she just graduated, and I needed someone who's really good at helping me color, but who does something completely different, so who won't get influenced by my work. And she came through some mutual friends recommendation, and she was then sort of still painting, but started doing these pencil drawings, and she wanted to be a fantasy artist, and she felt like it doesn't fit in, so she has to do paintings. And then like there was like back and forth, like I saw her struggle and then eventually come in peace with it, and now she's thriving. She's like like kicking everyone's butt by doing something completely different. And I know she's not up and coming anymore, but like for me, I know her from the start, and I'm really really happy where she's at, and that she's bringing something. She's like 100% committed to the fantasy and science fiction community, and but also bringing something very fresh and new and different from what we used to see in the field. And so like though she's not up and coming, but like I need to mention her. And I want to quickly mention two other people. Like they kind of like hover around fantasy world, but like not like strictly. I will leave the website on the chat section, but Armando Vivet, he's Cuban American, and he does like these like super detailed, almost like 1980s Eastern European inspired art, but it's very original and interesting, and the world he creates is amazing. And the last person you probably have never heard of yet, and he's Egyptian in Cairo, Egypt, and I only know him because he came to one of my workshops I did some years ago. His name is Mohammed Mustafa. He said like it's a very common name, so like I will have to like post his website, because like there were like thousands of Mohammed Mustafa, but like I was blown away when I first met him, because I have never seen anyone who can draw and paint as well as him. I've been like showing his work to all my professional friends, and like, look, he paints and draws better than you or me, and he's still unknown. So watch out for him. So that's my recommendations. I'll leave the comment on the chat.
I noticed that Galen added 2 more people on the list over there. Is it Rebecca?
It's one of those where like names just suddenly are like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, and that person. Sorry, I mentioned Jabari Weathers and Rebecca Yanis Skaya. So
yeah.